In the heart of every great empire lies a fragile thread of trust, a belief in unity, in loyalty and purpose. But what happens when that thread is severed? When a trusted son becomes the harbinger of betrayal? Welcome to Age of Darkness. In the grim universe of Warhammer 40,000, the Horus Heresy stands as a moment of pure cataclysm, a time when brother fought brother, and entire worlds crumbled under the weight of shattered faith. But in Age of Darkness, we witness not the grand battles, but the whispers, the doubts, the moments when loyalty and betrayal clash in the hearts of the Emperor's finest. From Roboute Guilliman's chilling decision to create an empire within an empire, to Horus Aximand's silent guilt over the horrors his War Master unleashed, Age of Darkness is not just a tale of war, it's a journey into the minds of those who must choose between duty and despair, truth and survival. Join us as we uncover the stories of those left in the shadows, the warriors, the betrayers, the forgotten sons. Age of Darkness is more than an anthology. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars cast the deepest shadows. Prepare yourself. The war within has only begun. I'm excited to take you through a detailed exploration of Age of Darkness, an anthology from the Horus Heresy series in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. This book serves as a critical piece in the broader tapestry of the Horus Heresy, a series that has enthralled readers by chronicling the tragedy of Horus Lupercal, who rose up against his father, the Emperor, initiating a civil war that shattered the Imperium and altered the galaxy forever. Age of Darkness is unique within this series. Rather than continuing a singular narrative, it offers us a collection of short stories by multiple authors, each of whom takes a unique perspective on the events following Horus's betrayal. These perspectives reveal how his rebellion reverberates across the Imperium, affecting countless individuals, legions, and worlds. The anthology takes on a mosaic structure, giving us glimpses into the lives of warriors, civilians, and commanders alike. We see leaders like Roboute Guilliman faced with impossible choices as he considers the creation of Imperium Secundus, a backup empire that might ensure humanity's survival if the original Imperium falls. We meet loyalists who cling to their ideals even as the Emperor's grand vision seems to crumble around them, and we see traitors struggling with their own regrets and doubts about the cause they've embraced. Each story offers a different lens, and together, they form a complex, multifaceted portrait of a galaxy coming apart at the seams. So let's begin by diving into the structure and individual stories in Age of Darkness. Each narrative adds a unique element, and I'd like to take the time to examine them closely, one by one, to understand their contributions to the overall themes of the anthology and the broader Horus Heresy. The first story, Rules of Engagement by Graham McNeill, is one of the central stories in Age of Darkness, taking place amidst the early years of the Horus Heresy. It centres on Roboute Guilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, who is known for his logical mind, sense of duty, and loyalty to the Emperor. Guilliman, along with his Ultramarines Legion, finds himself confronted with an unimaginable situation: the galaxy-spanning betrayal led by Horus Lupercal. This betrayal has shattered the bonds between the legions and threatens the stability of the Imperium itself. As Guilliman realizes the extent of the heresy's devastation, he faces a profound dilemma. Should he follow the Emperor's original vision unwaveringly, or does he have a duty to preserve humanity in any way possible, even if it means creating a new Imperium? This story follows Guilliman's struggle as he contemplates the concept of Imperium Secundus, a contingency empire designed to preserve the Emperor's ideals should the original Imperium fall. The narrative of Rules of Engagement is told from multiple perspectives, with a significant portion focusing on Guilliman's introspective thoughts and conversations with his closest officers. Guilliman has developed a complex set of doctrines and protocols referred to as the Rules of Engagement to prepare his legion for the harsh realities of a galactic civil war. He subjects his captains to rigorous tactical simulations to sharpen their skills, one of which pits them against a hypothetical force modelled after the Sons of Horus, led by Horus himself. Captain Remus Ventanus, a highly respected officer within the Ultramarines, takes part in one of these simulations. Despite his skill and loyalty, Ventanus loses in the simulation, overwhelmed by the ferocity and unpredictability of the enemy. This simulated loss serves as a humbling experience for Ventanus, but it also mirrors the broader realization faced by Guilliman and the Ultramarines. The Loyalists may not be as prepared as they thought to confront their former brothers. As the story progresses, Guilliman confides in Ventanus and reveals his thoughts on Imperium Secundus, a backup plan he believes may be necessary to ensure humanity's survival. Guilliman is well aware that this plan could be seen as a betrayal of the Emperor, and he grapples with the weight of this decision, knowing that it could reshape the fate of the Imperium. Roboute Guilliman is portrayed as a deeply conflicted figure, caught between his devotion to the Emperor's original vision and his pragmatic approach to ensuring humanity's survival. Known as the strategist among the Primarchs, Guilliman is constantly calculating, viewing warfare as a science as much as an art. However, the heresy challenges him in ways that no strategy can fully address. His contemplation of Imperium Secundus reveals his understanding that the Imperium may be irreparably damaged, but it also suggests that his loyalty is more to humanity's future than to any single directive from the Emperor. Guilliman's discussions with Ventanus and other captains reflect his awareness that the heresy requires new strategies and doctrines, ones that account for the unprecedented threat posed by former allies. He trains his legion rigorously, not out of cruelty, but because he knows they must be prepared for a brutal, unpredictable conflict. Yet Guilliman's pragmatism is tempered by doubt as he wrestles with whether creating Imperium Secundus could be seen as an act of disloyalty, even treason, against his father. This internal conflict makes him a particularly compelling figure, a Primarch who is bound by duty but haunted by the choices he must make. Captain Remus serves as a lens through which we see the Ultramarines' loyalty and determination, as well as their vulnerabilities. Known for his bravery and loyalty, Ventanus is one of Guilliman's most capable officers. However, his defeat in the simulation against the Sons of Horus is a humbling experience, revealing his own limitations in the face of the ferocity embodied by Horus's forces. Ventanus' loss also mirrors the larger struggle of the Loyalists, who are up against an enemy with the same level of training and devotion. Despite his self-doubt, Ventanus respects Guilliman's vision and trusts in his leadership, even as Guilliman reveals the possibility of Imperium Secundus. His character demonstrates the challenge of maintaining morale and conviction during a time of unprecedented uncertainty, embodying the spirit of the Ultramarines while also exposing the costs of loyalty. The core of rules of engagement revolves around the tension between loyalty and pragmatism. Guilliman's loyalty to the Emperor is unwavering, but his contemplation of Imperium Secundus introduces a complex moral dilemma. This idea of creating a backup Imperium suggests that Guilliman is willing to go beyond the Emperor's original directive if it means preserving humanity's future. The story raises important questions. Is it possible to remain loyal while also challenging the status quo? Can loyalty coexist with pragmatism, or does the latter inevitably lead to betrayal? This theme is not only explored through Guilliman's actions, but also through his interactions with his captains. Ventanus' defeat in the simulation forces the Ultramarines to confront the reality that loyalty alone is not enough to win this war. They must adapt, evolving their tactics to face an enemy who knows them as well as they know themselves. As a Primarch, Guilliman bears the immense responsibility of leading not just his legion, but also safeguarding the future of humanity. The weight of this responsibility is palpable in Rules of Engagement, as Guilliman navigates the implications of creating Imperium Secundus. His contemplations reveal the isolation and emotional toll of command, as he must make decisions that no one else is qualified or willing to make. But this burden of command is reflected in his willingness to prepare his captains with brutal simulations, ensuring they are as ready as possible for the horrors that await them. Guilliman's isolation and the weight of leadership mirror the larger narrative of the heresy, where each Primarch is left to make impossible decisions in the face of mounting chaos. The training simulation that pits the Ultramarines against the Sons of Horus serves as a metaphor for the Loyalists' struggle to adapt to a new kind of war. Ventanus' defeat in the simulation is a humbling experience, one that reveals the limits of traditional strategies in the face of a foe that knows their tactics intimately. Guilliman's Rules of Engagement emphasize that the heresy demands a level of humility as much as it requires strength. His willingness to prepare his legion for scenarios where they may be outmatched speaks to his understanding that survival will require not only courage, but also adaptability and a realistic assessment of their own limitations. Guilliman's plan for Imperium Secundus introduces the unsettling notion that the Emperor's vision of unity and peace may be too fragile to withstand the heresy. In contemplating an alternative Imperium, Guilliman acknowledges that the Emperor's ideals might need to be adapted or even abandoned for humanity to survive. This idea is at the heart of the heresy itself, as characters across the series are forced to confront the possibility that the Imperium they fight for may no longer exist as they once knew it. Guilliman's struggle with this reality is particularly poignant, as he is one of the most idealistic of the Primarchs, yet he must now consider a course of action that could be perceived as heretical. Rules of Engagement is a significant story within the Horus Heresy for several reasons. Firstly, it provides readers with insight into Guilliman's character beyond his role as a strategist, revealing his doubts, fears, and the emotional cost of leadership. Secondly, the story underscores the adaptability and resilience of the Ultramarines, a legion that is often seen as rigid or overly regimented. Through Guilliman's preparations and Ventanus' defeat, the story highlights that even the most disciplined legion must evolve to face an unprecedented threat. Furthermore, Rules of Engagement adds depth to the heresy's portrayal of loyalty and treason. By showing Guilliman's contemplation of Imperium Secundus, McNeill challenges readers to consider what it truly means to be loyal. Is Guilliman's loyalty compromised by his pragmatic outlook, or is he simply fulfilling his duty in the way he sees best? This ambiguity enriches the narrative, suggesting that loyalty is not always about blind obedience, but about finding a path that serves a greater purpose, even if it involves difficult moral compromises. Rules of Engagement by Graham McNeill is a compelling story that delves into the moral and strategic complexities of the Horus Heresy. Through Roboute Guilliman's struggle with the idea of Imperium Secundus, the story explores themes of loyalty, pragmatism, and the burdens of command, while also providing a realistic view of the Ultramarines' strengths and vulnerabilities. The narrative forces readers to confront the fragility of ideals in a time of chaos, and it challenges the notion of loyalty as a static concept. Ultimately, Rules of Engagement is a thoughtful exploration of how even the most resolute figures in the Imperium are not immune to doubt, and how the heresy demands a level of humility, adaptability, and introspection that few are prepared to embrace. Next, we have Liar's Due by James Swallow takes a unique approach within the anthology, focusing not on the Space Marines or their legendary battles, but on the civilians of the Imperium who find themselves entangled in the conflict's far-reaching effects. The story is set on the remote agri-world of Ajax, far removed from the front lines of the Horus Heresy. Here, ordinary people live relatively simple lives, cultivating their land and remaining largely ignorant of the greater political and military turmoil spreading across the galaxy. This story introduces a perspective rarely seen in the Horus Heresy, the perspective of civilians and local leaders who are forced to make sense of the vast and often incomprehensible events of the heresy. By focusing on Ajax and its people, Swallow brings readers a story of manipulation, trust, and the subtle power of propaganda. It's a narrative that highlights the importance of perception and influence in wartime, even in places far from the battle's epicenters. The plot of Liar's Due revolves around a visitor who arrives on Ajax, claiming to be a representative of the Imperium. This mysterious man, who is unnamed, is adept at sowing fear, distrust, and doubt. He tells the townspeople of a rebellion within the Imperium, warning them that the Emperor's forces are not as unified as they might think. His goal is clear: to destabilize Yax's faith in the Imperium and cast doubt on the Emperor's authority. The townspeople, who are unaccustomed to galactic-scale political intrigue, find themselves vulnerable to his persuasive words. They begin to question their trust in the Imperium and wonder if perhaps they too should prepare for the changes that might be coming. The mysterious man's manipulative tactics reveal the influence that rumours and propaganda can have on isolated worlds. Over time, a few of the more skeptical townsfolk start to suspect that the visitor might not be who he claims to be. They begin to realise that his words are intended to unsettle them, to create division where there was once loyalty. Ultimately, the man's true identity is hinted at, though not fully revealed. He is likely an agent of Horus or one of his followers, sent to sow discord and weaken the Imperium's hold on its far-flung territories. The central figure in Liar's Due is the enigmatic visitor who arrives on Ajax and begins spreading dissent. He represents the manipulative forces at play within the heresy, embodying the theme of propaganda and the use of misinformation as a weapon. The visitor is calm, articulate, and persuasive, exploiting the townspeople's lack of knowledge about the heresy to instill fear and uncertainty. His methods are subtle but effective, as he relies on half-truths and implications rather than outright lies. The visitor's manipulative nature reflects the broader tactics of Horus and his followers, who understand that undermining trust and morale can be as destructive as physical warfare. The visitor's character is intriguing because he presents himself as both charismatic and sinister, a figure who appears reasonable but whose intentions are clearly malicious. His ability to sway people with his words alone speaks to the danger of propaganda and misinformation, especially among those who lack access to reliable sources of information. His character serves as a reminder of how the heresy extends beyond the battlefield, infiltrating the minds of the Imperium's citizens. The townspeople of Ajax represent the average citizens of the Imperium, hardworking, devout, and largely oblivious to the full scope of the heresy. They are unprepared for the political maneuvering of someone like the visitor, making them easy targets for his manipulative tactics. Their initial willingness to trust him reflects their loyalty to the Imperium, but their gradual descent into doubt and fear highlights how fragile that loyalty can be when faced with persuasive rhetoric. Several townspeople begin to doubt the visitor's words, showing the resilience and skepticism that characterize the Imperium's citizens. These individuals serve as a counterpoint to those who are more easily swayed, illustrating that while fear and suspicion can spread quickly, there are still those who hold to their beliefs and question outside influences. This collective portrayal of the townspeople reveals the psychological vulnerability of isolated worlds during the heresy and underscores the importance of loyalty and unity. At its core, Liar's Due is a story about the power of words to shape beliefs, perceptions, and loyalties. The visitor's use of subtle, suggestive language is his primary weapon, allowing him to plant seeds of doubt without making overtly false statements. His manipulation of information and exploitation of the townspeople's lack of knowledge reflect the tactics of propaganda. Through this character, Swallow demonstrates how misinformation can be wielded as a tool of warfare, weakening the bonds of loyalty that hold the Imperium together. This theme is particularly relevant in the context of the heresy, as Horus and his forces rely not only on military might, but on psychological manipulation to destabilize the Imperium. By undermining trust and spreading uncertainty, the visitor creates a situation where the townspeople begin to question their allegiance. This theme serves as a reminder that in a time of war, truth can be as much a casualty as any soldier, and perception can be manipulated to control entire populations. The visitor's presence on Ajax highlights the fragile nature of trust, especially in isolated communities that depend on the Imperium's stability for their own security. The townspeople's initial trust in the visitor shifts to doubt as they begin to question the reliability of their long-held beliefs. This gradual erosion of trust reflects the larger breakdown of unity within the Imperium, where even the most steadfast citizens can be swayed by fear and suspicion. The story suggests that trust is a foundational element of the Imperium's power, one that can be easily destabilized when people are left to rely on rumors and incomplete information. As the townspeople wrestle with their loyalty to the Imperium versus their instinct to protect themselves, Swallow captures the psychological impact of the heresy on those far removed from the front lines. This theme reinforces the idea that trust is a precious commodity, one that can be weaponized in times of uncertainty. The setting of Ajax, a distant and largely forgotten agricultural world, emphasizes the theme of isolation. The townspeople's distance from the centers of power and communication makes them particularly vulnerable to manipulation. Without access to reliable information or support from the Imperium, they are left to fend for themselves, making them easy targets for the visitors' lies. This isolation mirrors the larger fragmentation occurring within the Imperium, as isolated communities are left defenseless against the psychological and ideological forces of the heresy. The vulnerability of Ajax's people underscores the dangers faced by countless other worlds like it, where citizens are left disconnected from the Imperium's protection and knowledge. This theme of isolation also speaks to the loneliness felt by individuals within the Imperium, even those who ostensibly live under the Emperor's rule. In the vast, uncaring galaxy of Warhammer 40,000, isolation breeds vulnerability, and Liar's Due captures how easily that vulnerability can be exploited. Liar's Due also raises questions about the nature of truth in wartime. The visitor manipulates perception rather than directly lying, leading the townspeople to reach conclusions on their own. By presenting half-truths and ambiguous statements, he blurs the line between reality and fabrication, creating a narrative that suits his purpose. This technique forces the townspeople to question their beliefs, ultimately creating a reality where the truth is obscured and subjective. The story suggests that truth can be malleable, especially when people are left to interpret events based on limited or manipulated information. This theme is especially pertinent to the Horus Heresy, where the loyalist and traitor sides each possess their own version of the truth, often clashing in both ideology and reality. Swallow uses Liar's Due to illustrate how easily truth can be distorted, turning perception itself into a battleground in the struggle for control over the Imperium. Liar's Due is significant within the Horus Heresy, as it sheds light on the often overlooked perspective of ordinary citizens during the heresy. While much of the series focuses on the Primarchs, Space Marines, and high-ranking officials, this story brings the conflict down to the level of common people whose lives are indirectly shaped by distant wars and politics. It highlights the pervasive impact of the heresy, revealing that even the remotest corners of the galaxy are not immune to its influence. By centering on the themes of propaganda, trust, and perception, Liar's Due underscores the heresy's psychological impact. The story serves as a reminder that Horus's rebellion isn't just a military conflict, it's a campaign to reshape minds, weaken morale, and erode loyalty from within. The visitor's ability to instill fear and doubt in a loyalist population reflects the broader tactic employed by Horus and his followers, destabilizing the Imperium not only through force but through the subversion of belief and trust. In the larger context of the Horus Heresy, Liar's Due offers a sobering perspective on the far-reaching implications of the conflict. It reminds readers that the heresy's casualties are not limited to the battle-hardened Astartes, but include civilians whose lives are thrown into turmoil by forces beyond their understanding. Through this story, James Swallow captures the tragic vulnerability of isolated worlds, showing that the heresy's darkness seeps into every corner of the Imperium, leaving no one untouched. In conclusion, Liar's Due is a powerful exploration of the themes of manipulation, trust, and vulnerability in wartime. Through the character of the visitor and the susceptible townspeople of Ajax, James Swallow presents a cautionary tale about the ease with which minds can be swayed and loyalties undermined. In the shadow of the Horus Heresy, even distant worlds become battlegrounds of belief, illustrating that the heresy's true horror lies not only in the battles fought, but in the quiet, insidious corruption of faith. Forgotten Sons, by Nick Kime, provides a distinctive look into the Horus Heresy through the story of two space marines, one from the Imperial Fists and another from the Salamanders, who are tasked with a diplomatic mission rather than a battle. Set against the backdrop of a galaxy tearing itself apart, the story emphasizes the struggles of loyalty and diplomacy amidst the disintegration of trust and unity within the Imperium. The story is set on the world of Bastion, a strategically significant planet the Imperium hopes to keep aligned in its cause, but whose loyalty is becoming tenuous due to the influence of the heresy. Rather than focusing solely on combat, Forgotten Sons shifts its focus to diplomacy, highlighting the more nuanced side of the war, and showing that the heresy's battles aren't fought solely through physical might but also through alliances, trust, and ideology. Kime's narrative challenges the typical portrayal of Space Marines as unyielding warriors by showing that they too must adapt to situations where words and tactics rather than weapons are their primary tools. The story centers on the mission of two Space Marines, Arcades of the Imperial Fists and Numion of the Salamanders, who are sent to Bastion to ensure that the planet remains loyal to the Emperor. Bastion is a world of considerable importance to the Imperium due to its location and resources, making it a valuable asset that both the Loyalists and traitors hope to secure. However, the planet's leaders have grown uncertain in their loyalty, influenced by the ongoing conflict and increasingly receptive to the idea of defecting from the Imperium to join Horus's forces. Arcades and Numion, though united in purpose, bring contrasting personalities and philosophies to the mission. Arcades, a stoic and disciplined member of the Imperial Fists, represents a rigid adherence to duty and order. Numion, by contrast, embodies the compassion and empathy typical of the Salamanders. As they work together to sway Bastion's leadership, tensions emerge between the two, reflecting the broader ideological rifts that have begun to form even within the Loyalist factions. The mission grows increasingly complex as the Space Marines encounter resistance from Bastion's leaders, who are reluctant to commit to the Imperium and increasingly tempted by the stability and power Horus appears to offer. Eventually, Arcades and Numion must decide how far they are willing to go to secure Bastion's allegiance, even if it means challenging their own values and risking everything for the Emperor's cause. Arcades, Imperial Fist, is portrayed as the embodiment of the Imperial Fist's stoicism, discipline, and unwavering loyalty to the Emperor. His character reflects the unyielding strength and sense of duty that Rogal Dorn instills in his legion, emphasizing obedience and order above all else. Arcades' adherence to duty, however, also makes him somewhat inflexible and resistant to alternative approaches, particularly those that require compassion or compromise. His character serves as a representation of the more rigid, traditionalist side of the Imperium, one that views deviation from established ideals as a form of weakness or disloyalty. Throughout the mission, Arcades' relationship with Numion becomes a point of tension, as his approach to diplomacy is often at odds with Numion's more empathetic methods. Arcades' character arc in the story explores the limitations of rigid loyalty and reveals the potential cost of inflexibility in a conflict as complex and morally ambiguous as the heresy. His journey is one of subtle growth as he learns to appreciate the value of Numion's perspective, even if he remains largely committed to his own beliefs. Numion, Salamander, in contrast, represents the compassionate and empathetic side of the Imperium, as exemplified by the Salamanders. He believes in the importance of protecting humanity, not just conquering for its sake. As a representative of Vulcan's Legion, Numion's loyalty is tempered with a deep sense of responsibility towards civilians and those who are caught in the crossfire of the heresy. This compassion makes him more open to understanding the concerns of Bastion's leaders and attempting to appeal to their sense of duty rather than intimidating them into submission. Numion's approach often puts him at odds with Arcades, who sees such empathy as a potential vulnerability. However, Numian's conviction in the importance of compassion adds depth to his character, showcasing a more humane side of the Astartes. Through Numion, the story explores the concept of loyalty not just to an ideal or cause, but to the well-being of humanity itself. His interactions with Archades challenge the idea that loyalty is a monolithic concept, presenting it instead as something that can encompass both strength and empathy. Governor of Bastion. The planetary governor of Bastion is a key figure in the narrative, representing the perspectives and fears of the Imperium's civilian leaders. The governor's hesitation to commit fully to the Imperium reflects the uncertainty felt by those who are far removed from the Emperor's direct influence. With the heresy spreading, the governor sees Horus as a potentially stabilizing figure, offering security and order in a time of chaos. This ambivalence highlights the complexities of loyalty for those who must weigh their allegiance against practical concerns and survival. The governor's character serves as a mirror to the internal conflicts within the Imperium, showing that loyalty is often contingent upon perceived security and stability. Through his interactions with Archades and Numion, the story explores the challenges faced by civilian leaders who are caught in the middle of a civil war they do not fully understand but must nonetheless navigate. Forgotten Sons presents loyalty as a multifaceted concept that is not confined to unquestioning obedience. The characters' differing approaches to loyalty, Archades' rigid adherence to duty versus Numion's compassionate approach, highlight the diversity of perspectives within the Imperium. Their mission forces them to reconcile these conflicting ideals as they work together to achieve a common goal. This theme emphasizes that loyalty can take many forms, and that differing interpretations of duty can lead to internal discord even among those who fight for the same cause. The story's title, Forgotten Sons, also alludes to the idea that loyalty can be overlooked or taken for granted, as seen in the case of Bastion, a world that the Imperium expects to remain loyal despite limited support and attention. The title hints at the forgotten or undervalued contributions of those who are expected to serve without question, highlighting the importance of valuing each component of the Imperium. Unlike most stories in the Horus Heresy, which focus on grand battles and military tactics, Forgotten Sons emphasizes diplomacy and the power of influence. Archades and Numion's mission to secure Bastion's loyalty reveals that words and persuasion are sometimes as critical as weapons. The story shows that in a fractured galaxy, maintaining alliances and securing loyalty require a nuanced understanding of others' needs and motivations. This theme is significant because it underscores the idea that not all battles are won through force. The heresy's impact is felt not only on the battlefield, but also in the minds of those who must choose sides, and diplomacy becomes a tool to sway these decisions. Forgotten Sons reminds us that the struggle for the Imperium's survival is as much about ideals and influence as it is about brute strength. Numion's character introduces a theme of compassion, a rare quality among the Astartes, but one that the Salamanders uniquely embody. Through Numion, the story questions the value of loyalty without empathy, suggesting that true loyalty includes a responsibility to protect and care for others. Numion's approach to diplomacy with the governor of Bastion reflects a more humane side of the Imperium, one that acknowledges the importance of understanding the fears and needs of those who may not have the same level of devotion as the Astartes. This theming of compassion is further emphasized in Numion's interactions with Archades, who sees empathy as a potential weakness. The tension between the two highlights the Imperium's internal divisions and the difficulty of balancing compassion with duty in a galaxy ravaged by war. Through this dynamic, the story suggests that compassion is not only a strength but a necessary component of leadership and loyalty. The story also explores the theme of duty and the sacrifices it demands. Both Archades and Numion are committed to their mission, but their differing philosophies lead to internal and external conflicts. Archades' unwavering sense of duty often blinds him to the nuances of the situation, while Numion's compassion makes him willing to question the cost of their mission. The story ultimately suggests that duty requires not only strength but also adaptability, and an understanding of when to be flexible. The governor's struggle to decide Bastion's allegiance reflects the weight of duty from a civilian perspective. Torn between loyalty to the Imperium and the desire for stability, the governor's hesitation highlights the sacrifices that duty demands, even for those who are not on the front lines. Through these characters, Forgotten Sons illustrates that duty is a burden shared by all, but one that manifests in different forms and with varying degrees of personal cost. Forgotten Sons holds a unique place within the Horus Heresy, as a story that examines loyalty and duty from multiple angles. By focusing on diplomacy and the power of influence, the story adds a layer of complexity to the heresy, reminding readers that the conflict is not only a matter of battles, but also of alliances and ideologies. The mission to secure Bastion's loyalty is emblematic of the Imperium's struggle to maintain unity in a time when the bonds between worlds are fraying under the pressures of war and doubt. The story also offers a nuanced look at the diversity within the Imperium's loyalist factions, showing that loyalty is not a one-size-fits-all concept. Archidesi's rigid adherence to duty and Numion's compassionate approach reveal the ideological divides that exist even among those who remain loyal to the Emperor. This internal diversity strengthens the story's message that loyalty is a deeply personal and complex choice influenced by individual values and experiences. Finally, Forgotten Sons serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who are often overlooked in the grand narrative of the heresy. The civilians of Bastion, as well as the Space Marines who must navigate complex diplomatic situations, are shown as integral to the Imperium's survival, even if their contributions are less visible than those of the Primarchs and Generals. Through this story, Nick Kime underscores the importance of every piece of the Imperium, no matter how small or forgotten, in the broader struggle to preserve humanity's future. In conclusion, Forgotten Sons by Nick Kime is a thought-provoking story that deepens our understanding of loyalty, duty, and compassion within the context of the Horus Heresy. Through its focus on diplomacy and the ideological tensions between Archides and Numion, the story highlights the complexities of loyalty and the importance of both strength and empathy. In a galaxy where duty is often synonymous with sacrifice, Forgotten Sons reminds us that loyalty is not only about obedience, but also about understanding and valuing the diverse perspectives within the Imperium. Then we have The Last Remembrancer by John French offers a powerful and introspective look into the ideological and emotional conflicts within the Horus Heresy. Set against the backdrop of a fractured Imperium, the story follows Roboute Guilliman, Primarch of the Imperial Fists, as he confronts an unsettling truth about the Imperium he has dedicated his life to protect. Unlike many of the other stories in Age of Darkness, The Last Remembrancer is not a tale of military strategy or galactic warfare. Instead, it's a philosophical and psychological narrative centered on the clash of ideals, memories, and the very essence of loyalty. At its core, the story revolves around a confrontation between Dawn and Solomon Voss, a former remembrancer, one of the historians and artists the Emperor dispatched across the galaxy to chronicle the Great Crusade. Once a chronicler of the Imperium's vision, Voss has now become a symbol of betrayal, defecting to Horus's side and carrying with him secrets that could destabilize the Imperium. Dawn's task is simple: extract the truth from Voss and eliminate any potential threat to the Imperium's morale. Yet, what begins as a straightforward interrogation soon evolves into a haunting dialogue about truth, loyalty, and the moral decay at the heart of the Imperium. The story begins with Rogal Dawn and the former Lunar Wolf Iacton crews journeying to a hidden fortress where Solomon Voss is being held. Voss, once a trusted remembrancer, has defected to Horus's forces and is now considered a traitor to the Imperium. Dawn's mission is to interrogate Voss, who possesses valuable insights into Horus's ideology and could potentially undermine the Imperium's stability if his words were to spread. However, as Dawn confronts Voss, he quickly realizes that this meeting is not a simple matter of loyalty versus betrayal. During the interrogation, Voss speaks openly about his reasons for defecting, challenging Dawn's unwavering loyalty to the Emperor. He argues that the Imperium has strayed from its original ideals, and that the Emperor's vision has become corrupted by bureaucracy, secrecy, and blind obedience. Voss contends that history itself is now a tool of control, wielded by those in power to maintain order at the cost of truth. He suggests that his choice to join Horus was not born of betrayal, but of a desire to expose the hidden flaws within the Imperium. Dawn, a steadfast defender of the Emperor's ideals, is unprepared for the depth of Voss's arguments. Although he initially dismisses Voss as a traitor, he finds himself wrestling with the implications of the Remembrancer's words. Voss's eloquence and conviction plant seeds of doubt in Dawn's mind, challenging his belief in the absolute righteousness of the Imperium. However, Dawn ultimately remains loyal to the Emperor's vision and orders the execution of Voss to prevent his subversive ideas from spreading. Rogal Dawn, the stoic and uncompromising Primarch of the Imperial Fists, is the central figure of the story. Known for his discipline and devotion to duty, Dawn is one of the Emperor's most loyal sons, willing to defend the Imperium at any cost. Yet, in The Last Remembrancer, Dawn faces a challenge unlike any he has encountered on the battlefield. His encounter with Voss forces him to confront the nature of loyalty and truth in a way that his military training does not prepare him for. Dawn's initial response to Voss's accusations is one of anger and disbelief, but as Voss speaks, Dawn is compelled to consider the possibility that the Imperium's ideals may be more fragile and compromised than he previously believed. Dawn's character arc in the story is one of internal conflict. As a Primarch, he is a symbol of strength and loyalty, but Voss's arguments expose his vulnerabilities and hint at the psychological toll of the heresy. Dawn's decision to execute Voss, despite the lingering doubts planted by the Remembrancer's words, underscores his commitment to the Emperor's vision, yet this choice is not one of blind obedience, but of necessity. Dawn understands that to allow Voss's ideas to take root would be to risk undermining the very foundation of the Imperium. In the end, Dawn's loyalty remains intact, but his encounter with Voss leaves him with a newfound awareness of the Imperium's complexities. Solomon Voss, the titular Last Remembrancer, is a compelling and tragic figure. Once a chronicler of the Imperium's triumphs, Voss has become disillusioned with the Emperor's vision, seeing it as a hollow ideal that masked the Imperium's darker truths. Voss's decision to join Horus is rooted in his belief that the Imperium has lost its way, that it no longer represents the values of truth and enlightenment it once claimed to champion. His character represents the intellectual and moral dissent that the heresy has unleashed, as individuals who once supported the Emperor now question the very foundations of the Imperium. Voss's dialogue with Dawn is a highlight of the story, as he presents a scathing critique of the Imperium's flaws. His arguments are delivered with conviction and eloquence, revealing his genuine belief in the righteousness of his actions. Voss is not a traitor driven by ambition or greed, but a disillusioned idealist who feels betrayed by the institution he once served. His final moments as he faces execution are marked by a sense of resignation, as he knows that his words will not be allowed to alter the course of the Imperium. Yet his confrontation with Dawn leaves a lasting impression, illustrating the power of ideas and the danger they pose to those who seek to maintain control. Iacton Cruz, a former lunar wolf now loyal to the Imperium, serves as a secondary character who offers a unique perspective on loyalty and betrayal. As a warrior who once fought alongside Horus, Cruz has experienced firsthand the consequences of divided loyalties. His presence alongside Dawn highlights the theme of fractured brotherhood, as Cruz embodies the disillusionment and confusion that the heresy has sown among the legions. Cruz's pragmatic outlook and warnings to Dawn reflect his understanding of the psychological toll of the heresy, and his character serves as a counterpoint to Dawn's idealism. Cruz's experiences have taught him that loyalty is not a simple matter, and his perspective adds depth to the story's exploration of ideological conflict. One of the central themes in The Last Remembrancer is the manipulation of truth as a means of maintaining control. Voss argues that the Imperium has turned history into a tool of propaganda, distorting the past to justify its present actions. He believes that the Emperor's vision has been compromised by secrecy, and that the Imperium now uses selective truth to keep its citizens and soldiers obedient. This theme is a direct challenge to the loyalist perspective, suggesting that the ideals of the Great Crusade have been corrupted. Dawn's insistence on executing Voss to prevent his ideas from spreading reflects the Imperium's need to maintain a singular narrative, one that cannot tolerate dissent. Voss's arguments reveal the fragility of the Emperor's vision, suggesting that the heresy has exposed cracks in the Imperium's ideological foundation. As a remembrancer, Voss once believed in the Imperium's ideals of truth, enlightenment, and unity. Yet, his experiences have led him to conclude that these ideals are mere illusions, used to mask the darker realities of the Imperium's rule. This theme is explored through Dawn's reaction to Voss's words, as the Primarch is forced to confront the possibility that the ideals he fights for may not be as unassailable as he once thought. This fragility is a reflection of the heresy itself, which has thrown the Imperium's values into question and revealed the contradictions within its structure. The story also explores the tension between loyalty and dissent, questioning whether true loyalty can exist without the freedom to question authority. Voss's dissent is not motivated by malice, but by a genuine belief that the Imperium has betrayed its own principles. He views his defection to Horus as an act of loyalty to the truth, rather than a betrayal of the Emperor. Dawn, on the other hand, sees dissent as a threat to unity, believing that loyalty requires unwavering commitment to the Emperor's vision. This ideological conflict highlights the complexities of loyalty within the heresy, as characters must navigate the fine line between faithfulness and disillusionment. The Last Remembrancer captures the psychological toll of the heresy, particularly on figures like Dawn, who must maintain their resolve despite the growing darkness around them. Dawn's encounter with Voss forces him to confront doubts that he would rather ignore, as Voss's words challenge the very foundation of his beliefs. This theme underscores the internal struggles faced by the Loyalists, who are constantly forced to reaffirm their commitment in the face of overwhelming despair. The heresy is not just a physical war, it is a psychological conflict that erodes the spirit and morale of those who fight to preserve the Imperium. The Last Remembrancer is a pivotal story within the Horus Heresy, as it highlights the ideological conflicts and moral ambiguities that lie beneath the surface of the war. By focusing on the confrontation between Dawn and Voss, the story brings to light the internal contradictions within the Imperium, suggesting that the heresy is as much a battle of ideas as it is of military might. Voss's perspective offers readers a rare glimpse into the disillusionment felt by those who once believed in the Emperor's vision, revealing that even the most loyal servants of the Imperium can question its purpose. Furthermore, the story provides insight into Dawn's character, showing him not just as a stoic defender of the Emperor, but as a man struggling to reconcile his loyalty with the unsettling truths he encounters. Dawn's choice to execute Voss, despite his doubts, illustrates the difficult choices that loyalty demands, particularly in a time of crisis. The story's focus on the power of ideas and the danger of dissent adds depth to the Horus Heresy, emphasizing that the true cost of the heresy is not only measured in lives, but in the erosion of ideals. In conclusion, The Last Remembrancer by John French is a profound exploration of truth, loyalty, and the psychological impact of the Horus Heresy. Through the characters of Dawn and Voss, the story questions the nature of loyalty, the power of dissent, and the fragility of the ideals that the Imperium claims to uphold. It serves as a reminder that even the strongest foundations can be shaken by doubt, and that in a time of darkness, the line between loyalty and betrayal can blur. Rebirth by Chris Raitt takes place after the fall of Prospero, the Thousand Suns homeworld, which was decimated by the Space Wolves on the Emperor's orders. This story is set in the aftermath of this traumatic event, exploring the survivors' journey as they navigate a galaxy that has turned hostile. Having been cast out and nearly destroyed by their own brothers, the Thousand Suns are now left to pick up the pieces and reforge their identity in the face of betrayal and despair. Rebirth is both a literal and metaphorical journey as the remnants of the Thousand Suns search for purpose and understanding amidst a universe that has deemed them heretics. The story takes a reflective and introspective approach, focusing less on physical battles and more on the psychological toll of the heresy on the Thousand Suns. This is a tale of survival and transformation, as the Legion's members must grapple with their past while forging a new path in a universe that no longer sees them as honourable warriors. In this way, Rebirth is about renewal, resilience, and the quest for redemption in a time of darkness. Rebirth follows a group of Thousand Sun survivors, including a captain named Raviul Arvida, as they attempt to make sense of their new reality after the destruction of Prospero. Arvida, like many of his fellow Thousand Suns, is deeply scarred by the betrayal of the Space Wolves and the Emperor's seeming abandonment of their legion. Throughout the story, Arvida struggles with the pain of loss and the weight of his identity as a Thousand Sun, a warrior devoted to knowledge and the pursuit of enlightenment, now seen as a traitor by the very Imperium he once served. As Arvida and his group travel through space, they encounter various obstacles, both external and internal. The Thousand Suns' psychic abilities, which had once been their greatest asset, are now a source of inner conflict and danger, as they have become more susceptible to corruption and the influences of chaos. Arvida's journey is marked by visions and memories, as he grapples with the spiritual and mental challenges brought on by the trauma of Prospero's destruction. Ultimately, the story is one of personal and collective transformation. Arvida's experiences lead him to a deeper understanding of his own identity and the Legion's new path. As he contemplates the future, he realizes that survival is not enough. The Thousand Suns must undergo a process of rebirth, redefining their purpose in a universe that no longer welcomes them. Raviul. Arvida is the central character of Rebirth and serves as a lens through which the reader experiences the emotional and psychological fallout of Prospero's destruction. Arvida is portrayed as a contemplative and introspective figure, embodying the Thousand Suns' dedication to knowledge and self-reflection. However, the trauma of betrayal has left him fractured, questioning not only his purpose but also his identity as a member of a legion that has been condemned by the Imperium. Throughout the story, Arvida wrestles with his memories of Prospero and the teachings of Magnus the Red, his Primarch. He feels an overwhelming sense of loss and betrayal, not only by the Space Wolves who attacked them, but also by the Emperor who allowed their destruction. Arvida's character arc in Rebirth is one of gradual acceptance and transformation. By the end of the story, he realizes that clinging to the past will only hinder his growth. To survive, he must embrace change, symbolizing the rebirth that the story's title suggests. Arvida's psychic abilities play a significant role in his character development, as they both empower and endanger him. The Thousand Suns' connection to the warp makes them vulnerable to chaos, and Arvida is constantly aware of the risk of corruption. This tension between power and vulnerability mirrors his internal struggle as he tries to find balance and purpose in a world that views him as an outcast. The remnants of the Thousand Suns Legion represent a collective identity struggling to survive in the universe that has rejected them. Once esteemed scholars and warriors, the Thousand Sons now find themselves on the fringes of the Imperium, isolated and reviled. The destruction of Prospero has left them traumatized and disillusioned, forcing them to question everything they once believed in. This collective struggle for identity and purpose is central to Rebirth, as the Legion members grapple with their loyalty to Magnus, their understanding of the Emperor's will, and the role of psychic power in their lives. The Thousand Sons' journey in Rebirth is symbolic of a larger theme within the Horus Heresy, the loss of innocence and the search for meaning in the face of betrayal. The Legion's transformation from loyal servants of the Emperor to hunted outcasts reflects the broader disintegration of the Imperium's unity, as once loyal factions are forced to redefine themselves amidst the chaos of the heresy. One of the primary themes in Rebirth is the profound sense of loss and betrayal felt by the Thousand Sons. The destruction of Prospero, orchestrated by the Emperor himself, through the Space Wolves, represents the ultimate betrayal for the Legion. Arvida and his fellow Thousand Sons are haunted by this betrayal, as they struggle to reconcile their loyalty to the Emperor with the fact that he allowed their annihilation. This theme of betrayal is woven throughout the story, shaping the characters' emotional journeys and underscoring the fragility of loyalty in a time of war. The sense of loss is palpable, not only in the physical destruction of Prospero, but also in the loss of identity that the Thousand Sons experience. They are no longer honoured warriors but outcasts, forced to confront the reality that their loyalty was met with violence and rejection. This theme is particularly resonant in Arvida's reflections, as he mourns the loss of his home, his brothers, and the ideals that once defined his legion. Rebirth explores the theme of transformation on both a personal and collective level. For Arvida, the journey is one of internal rebirth, as he comes to terms with his past and finds a new sense of purpose. The Thousand Sons, as a legion, must also undergo a transformation, redefining their identity in a galaxy that no longer welcomes them. This theme of transformation is closely tied to the story's title, as the concept of rebirth signifies not only survival but a fundamental change in identity and purpose. Arvida's psychic abilities serve as a metaphor for this transformation, as they represent both his power and his vulnerability. The Thousand Sons' connection to the warp, which once defined their identity, now threatens to consume them. This duality reflects the broader theme of transformation, as the characters must find balance between their past selves and the new identities they are forced to adopt. In the aftermath of Prospero's destruction, the Thousand Sons are left without a clear purpose or direction. Rebirth explores the theme of purpose as the characters grapple with their uncertain future. For Arvida, the search for purpose is a deeply personal journey, as he must find meaning in a universe that has condemned him. This theme is particularly poignant given the Thousand Sons' history as seekers of knowledge and enlightenment. Without the guidance of the Emperor or the security of Prospero, they are forced to find purpose within themselves. This search for purpose is not limited to Arvida alone. It is a collective experience shared by the remnants of the Thousand Sons. Their journey through space is both literal and metaphorical, as they navigate the physical dangers of the galaxy and the existential question of what it means to be a Thousand Son in the universe that no longer recognizes them. The theme of resilience is central to Rebirth, as the Thousand Sons demonstrate their will to survive in the face of overwhelming adversity. Despite the destruction of Prospero and the betrayal by the Emperor, Arvida and his fellow survivors refuse to give up. Their resilience is a testament to the strength of their character and their commitment to the ideals of knowledge and self-discovery, even when those ideals seem meaningless in the current state of the galaxy. This resilience is not without cost, as the characters must confront their own vulnerabilities and make difficult choices in order to survive. Arvida's journey in particular highlights the tension between resilience and surrender, as he struggles to find a path forward that honours his past while accepting the necessity of change. This theme of resilience serves as a reminder that survival is not just about physical endurance but also about the willingness to adapt and grow. Rebirth is a significant story within the Horus Heresy, as it offers a nuanced exploration of the emotional and psychological impact of the heresy on those who have been cast out by the Imperium. While many stories in the series focus on battles and grand strategies, Rebirth delves into the inner lives of the Thousand Sons, exploring the cost of loyalty and the challenge of redefining oneself in a universe that has turned hostile. The story adds depth to the portrayal of the Thousand Sons, showing them not as traitors or heretics, but as individuals seeking understanding and redemption. The story's focus on transformation and resilience resonates with the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy, as various factions and individuals are forced to adapt to the chaos unleashed by Horus's rebellion. Arvida's journey embodies the struggle of those who must find new meaning in a universe where the old certainties have been destroyed. Rebirth thus contributes to the series' exploration of loyalty, identity, and survival, offering readers a more introspective look at the cost of the heresy. In conclusion, Rebirth by Chris Raitt is a powerful story of survival, transformation, and the search for purpose. Through the character of Arvida and the remnants of the Thousand Sons, the story captures the emotional and philosophical challenges faced by those who have been cast out by the Imperium. It serves as a reminder that the heresy's impact is not only physical, but also deeply psychological, as characters must confront their own beliefs and redefine their purpose in a galaxy that has forsaken them. The Face of Treachery by Gav Thorpe delves into the psychological and strategic aftermath of the Istvan V massacre, a critical event in the Horus Heresy that saw the betrayal and near destruction of several loyalist legions at the hands of the War Master Horus. Set in the ruins of shattered loyalty, this story focuses on the Raven Guard, who, along with the Salamanders and Iron Hands, were decimated in an ambush. Thorpe's narrative captures the desperation, survival instincts, and deep scars left on those who managed to escape the massacre, with a particular emphasis on the Raven Guard's attempts to regroup and strike back. Unlike other stories in the anthology, which often focus on grand battles or philosophical discourse, The Face of Treachery emphasized the survival and resilience of a shattered force. Through the Raven Guard's struggle, Thorpe paints a vivid picture of betrayal's impact on the psyche and the lengths to which these survivors will go to fulfill their duty. The story also explores the role of Primarch Horus Aximand, who becomes a symbol of the Legion's drive for vengeance and determination to rebuild in the face of overwhelming odds. The story follows the remnants of the Raven Guard after the catastrophic betrayal at Istvan V, where they were ambushed by the traitor legions under Horus's command. The Raven Guard, led by their Primarch Horus Aximand, are left decimated, their forces reduced to mere fragments of their former strength. In the wake of this betrayal, Aximand and his surviving warriors must find a way to evade the traitor forces hunting them and regroup to strike back against Horus. This becomes both a physical and psychological journey as they navigate the emotional trauma of betrayal and the practical challenges of survival. Aximand, deeply affected by the loss of his brothers and the scope of Horus's treachery, assumes the daunting task of leading his fractured legion in their quest for revenge and redemption. His actions reflect a combination of tactical brilliance and raw emotional drive, as he seeks to turn the tragedy of Istvan V into a rallying point for his remaining warriors. Despite their weakened state, Aximand devises a plan to resist the traitors and continue the fight, even if it means operating from the shadows. Throughout the story, the Raven Guard employed guerrilla warfare tactics, using their environment and limited resources to evade detection and strike at vulnerable points within the traitor legions. The story captures the essence of the Raven Guard's style of warfare: stealth, precision, and adaptability, as Aximand leads his legion on a desperate mission to stay one step ahead of Horus's forces. Despite their losses, the Raven Guard remain committed to their duty, embodying the resolve to continue fighting no matter the cost. Horus Aximand, the Primarch of the Raven Guard, is the central character in The Face of Treachery. Known for his stealthy approach to warfare and his dedication to justice, Aximand is portrayed as a figure deeply scarred by the betrayal at Istvan V. The massacre has left him shaken but resolute, his desire for vengeance tempered by a sense of responsibility to his remaining warriors. Aximand's character is defined by his resilience and adaptability, as he recognizes that he must change his tactics and mindset to ensure the survival of his legion. In the story, Aximand is not just a Primarch, but a symbol of hope and determination for his legion. His ability to rally his forces, even in the darkest of times, reflects his strength as a leader who inspires loyalty through his commitment to the mission and his empathy for his warriors. Aximand's psychological struggle is evident as he grapples with feelings of guilt and the weight of responsibility for his legion's survival. This internal conflict adds depth to his character, as he must navigate the line between vengeance and survival. The Raven Guard survivors embody the resilience and adaptability of their Primarch. These warriors, having witnessed the brutal betrayal at Istvan V, are haunted by the loss of their brothers and the realization that their former allies have turned against them. Their determination to continue fighting, despite their weakened state, speaks to the indomitable spirit of the Raven Guard. The story highlights their tactical prowess and willingness to embrace guerrilla tactics, reflecting their adaptability and commitment to the mission. These survivors also represent the emotional toll of betrayal, as they are forced to confront the reality that the Imperium they once served is fractured. The loss of trust and the sense of isolation they feel become recurring themes throughout the story, emphasizing the psychological scars left by the heresy. The Raven Guard's journey is as much about survival as it is about preserving their sense of purpose and identity in a universe that has betrayed them. The theme of betrayal is central to the face of treachery. The massacre at Istvan Fir serves as the backdrop for the story, highlighting the devastating impact of Horus's treachery on the Raven Guard and their Primarch. The survivors are not only grappling with the physical loss of their brothers, but also the emotional trauma of being betrayed by former allies. This theme explores the psychological scars left by the heresy, as the Raven Guard must reconcile their loyalty to the Emperor with the reality that they are now hunted by the very forces they once fought alongside. For Corax, this betrayal is deeply personal, as he feels responsible for his legion's safety. His determination to continue fighting despite overwhelming odds reflects his refusal to let Horus's betrayal define his legion's fate. This theme of betrayal underscores the fragility of loyalty within the Imperium and the devastating consequences of ideological divides, serving as a powerful reminder of the heresy's impact on both individuals and legions. The theme of resilience is embodied by the Raven Guard as they fight to survive in the wake of Istvan Fifth. Despite their losses, the survivors refuse to surrender, employing guerrilla tactics and utilizing their environment to evade detection and strike back at their enemies. This theme highlights the adaptability and resourcefulness of the Raven Guard as they embrace unconventional warfare to continue the fight against Horus. Their resilience is a testament to their loyalty to the Emperor and their commitment to justice, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable odds. Corax's leadership plays a crucial role in this theme, as he inspires his warriors to persevere despite their weakened state. His tactical brilliance and determination to turn tragedy into opportunity reflect the Raven Guard's unyielding spirit. This theme of resilience serves as a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is strength to be found in unity and purpose. The betrayal at Istvan Fib leaves the Raven Guard isolated both physically and emotionally. Cut off from the rest of the Imperium and surrounded by enemies, the survivors must rely solely on each other for support and protection. This theme of isolation reflects the fragmentation of the Imperium, as the bonds of loyalty that once united the legions have been shattered by the heresy. The Raven Guard's sense of isolation is further compounded by the loss of trust in former allies, as they are forced to navigate a galaxy that has turned hostile. This theme also emphasizes the psychological toll of the heresy, as the Raven Guard struggle to maintain their sense of purpose and identity in a universe that has betrayed them. Their journey is a testament to the strength of their brotherhood, as they find solace in their shared loyalty to the Emperor and their commitment to justice. For Corax and his warriors, the desire for vengeance is a powerful motivator. The betrayal at Istvan Fiv has left them with a thirst for retribution, and they are determined to make Horus and his followers pay for their treachery. This theme of vengeance is tempered by Corax's sense of justice, as he recognizes that revenge alone is not enough to restore the Imperium. His focus on tactical precision and strategic planning reflects his understanding that true justice requires more than brute force. It requires resilience, discipline, and a commitment to the greater good. The theme of vengeance also highlights the moral complexities of the heresy, as the line between justice and revenge becomes increasingly blurred. For the Raven Guard, the desire for retribution is a natural response to betrayal, but Corax's leadership ensures that their actions are guided by a sense of purpose rather than blind rage. The Face of Treachery is a significant story within the Horus Heresy, as it offers a poignant exploration of the impact of betrayal on both individuals and legions. The story's focus on the Raven Guard's survival and resilience highlights the psychological and emotional toll of the heresy, emphasizing the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to give up in the face of overwhelming adversity. Through Corax's character, the story captures the complexities of leadership and the moral challenges faced by those who must navigate a galaxy torn apart by ideological divides. The story also contributes to the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy by showcasing the diversity of tactics and philosophies among the Loyalist forces. The Raven Guard's use of guerrilla warfare reflects their adaptability and resourcefulness, adding depth to the portrayal of the Loyalist legions. The Face of Treachery serves as a reminder that the heresy is not just a physical war, but a psychological and moral struggle, as the survivors must find ways to preserve their sense of purpose and identity in a universe that has turned against them. In conclusion, The Face of Treachery by Gav Thorpe is a powerful story of survival, resilience, and the emotional aftermath of betrayal. Through the character of Corax and the remnants of the Raven Guard, the story captures the psychological toll of the heresy and the strength required to continue fighting in the face of overwhelming odds. It serves as a reminder that the true cost of the heresy is not only measured in lives, but in the emotional scars left on those who survive. as they struggle to find meaning and purpose in a galaxy fractured by treachery. Little Horus, by Dan Abnett, centers on Horus Aximand, also known as Little Horus, a key figure among the traitor forces under the Warmaster Horus Lupercal. Aximand, one of the Mournival, Horus's trusted council of advisors, earned his nickname because of his physical and ideological similarity to the Warmaster himself. The story unfolds during the Horus Heresy, after the events of the Istvan massacres, with Horus Aximand grappling with guilt, internal conflicts, and the emotional weight of his allegiance to the traitor cause. Unlike other tales in the Horus Heresy that often focus on large-scale battles and cosmic horrors, Little Horus provides an intimate look at the psychological impact of the heresy on one of Horus's closest followers. It explores themes of loyalty, regret, and the struggle for personal identity amidst the chaos of war. Aximand's journey is marked by his internal conflict as he wrestles with the morality of his actions and his commitment to the Warmaster. Abnett's narrative is character-driven, delving into the psychological toll of betrayal, even on those who have chosen the path of treachery. In Little Horus, Horus Aximand finds himself questioning his role in the Warmaster's rebellion. Though he was once steadfast in his loyalty to Horus, the massacre at Istvan and the merciless brutality displayed by his fellow traitor legions have left him disillusioned and haunted by guilt. Aximand's dreams are plagued by memories of Garviel Loken, a former comrade who remained loyal to the Emperor and whom Aximand had a hand in betraying. These haunting visions serve as reminders of the bond he once shared with his brothers and the loyalty he once had to the Imperium. As the story progresses, Aximand is thrust into a mission with other members of the Sons of Horus to secure the loyalty of a planetary governor who is hesitant to fully support the Warmaster's rebellion. During this mission, Aximand's inner conflict intensifies, as he finds himself unable to shake the feeling that the path he has chosen may not be the righteous one. He struggles to align his sense of honor with the brutality of the rebellion, and his loyalty to Horus is tested as he contemplates the cost of his decisions on his soul. Aximand's doubts grow when he encounters a loyalist resistance force on the planet, a group that embodies the loyalty and resilience he once admired. His encounter with these loyalists forces him to confront his own sense of honor and his lingering loyalty to the ideals of the Emperor. By the end of the story, Aximand must come to terms with his divided loyalty, finding himself trapped between his commitment to Horus and his regret for abandoning the values he once held dear. Horus Aximand, the protagonist of the story, is portrayed as a deeply conflicted figure whose allegiance to the Warmaster is fraught with doubt and regret. Aximand earned the nickname Little Horus due to his physical resemblance to the Warmaster and his close ideological alignment with him. However, unlike his fellow Mournival members, Aximand feels the weight of the betrayal personally, haunted by memories of his former brothers and a profound sense of guilt over his actions. Aximand's internal struggle is central to the story, as he attempts to reconcile his loyalty to Horus with his lingering attachment to the ideals of the Imperium. Aximand's character arc is defined by his introspection and moral uncertainty. He is not a blind follower, and his doubts reveal a sense of humanity that contrasts with the cold brutality of the heresy. His dreams of Garviel Loken, a former friend and loyalist, serve as a reminder of the values he once held and the bond he shared with his brothers. Aximand's character embodies the theme of divided loyalty, as he grapples with the cost of his decisions and the possibility that he may have chosen the wrong side. Through Aximand, Abnett explores the psychological toll of the heresy, showing that even those who have turned against the Emperor are not immune to the pain of betrayal. Although Garviel Loken does not physically appear in Little Horus, his presence is felt throughout the story. As a former member of the Mournival and one of Aximand's closest friends, Loken represents the loyalist ideals that Aximand once valued. Loken's memory haunts Aximand, serving as a constant reminder of the moral compass he has abandoned. In his dreams, Aximand is confronted by visions of Loken, who embodies the honor, loyalty, and conviction that Aximand once admired but has now betrayed. Loken's role in the story is that of a ghostly conscience, reminding Aximand of the bond he shared with his fellow Astartes and the values he has forsaken. This spectral presence adds depth to Aximand's internal conflict, as he is forced to confront the part of himself that still clings to the ideals of loyalty and honor. Through Loken's memory, the story emphasizes the personal cost of betrayal and the lasting impact of lost friendships on those who have chosen the path of treachery. The theme of loyalty and betrayal is central to Little Horus, as Aximand grapples with his allegiance to Horus and his lingering attachment to the Imperium. Aximand's journey is marked by a profound sense of divided loyalty, as he struggles to reconcile his commitment to the Warmaster with his regret for betraying his former brothers. The story explores the complexities of loyalty, suggesting that it is not a simple matter of choosing sides but a deeply personal and emotional experience that shapes one's identity. Aximand's visions of Loken serve as a reminder of the loyalty he once felt toward the Emperor and his fellow Astartes. This theme is further emphasized by Aximand's interactions with the loyalist resistance, who embody the honor and resilience he once valued. Through Aximand's internal conflict, the story questions whether true loyalty can survive in a world defined by betrayal, and whether Aximand's allegiance to Horus is genuine or merely a mask for his own unresolved guilt. Aximand's character arc is marked by a deep sense of self-doubt and a crisis of identity. Once known as Little Horus for his close resemblance to the War Master, Aximand finds himself questioning the very foundation of his identity. His dreams of Loken and his encounters with the Loyalists force him to confront the possibility that he has betrayed not only his brothers but also himself. This theme of identity is central to the story, as Aximand must grapple with the realization that the path he has chosen may not align with his true nature. The theme of identity is further explored through Aximand's struggle to reconcile his sense of honor with the brutality of the rebellion. He is not a mindless follower, and his introspection reveals a complex individual who is deeply affected by the choices he has made. This internal conflict adds depth to his character, highlighting the psychological toll of the heresy on those who are caught between loyalty and regret. The story delves into the psychological impact of the heresy on Aximand, capturing the mental and emotional strain of being a traitor. Aximand's visions of Loken and his constant self-doubt reflect the inner turmoil faced by those who have chosen to abandon the Emperor. The heresy is not only a physical conflict, but a psychological one, as characters like Aximand must grapple with guilt, regret, and the loss of their sense of purpose. Through Aximand's character, Abnett explores the idea that war leaves lasting scars, not only on the body but also on the mind. The psychological toll of betrayal is evident in Aximand's struggle to find meaning in his actions, as he questions whether his loyalty to Horus is worth the cost of his own sense of self. This theme underscores the emotional weight of the heresy, highlighting the personal sacrifices and inner conflicts faced by those who have turned against the Emperor. Aximand's journey is marked by a profound sense of guilt over his betrayal of Loken and the loyalist ideals he once held. His visions of Loken serve as a reminder of the price of his actions, and he is haunted by the memory of his former friend. This guilt is a driving force in the story, as Aximand seeks to find redemption, even if only by confronting the consequences of his choices. The theme of redemption is subtle but significant, as Aximand's internal struggles suggest a desire to atone for his betrayal. Although he remains loyal to Horus, his self-doubt and guilt reveal a longing for the honor and integrity he has lost. This theme of guilt and redemption adds depth to Aximand's character, as he is portrayed not as a mindless traitor, but as a complex individual seeking to reconcile his actions with his own sense of honor. Little Horus holds a unique place within the Horus Heresy, as it offers an intimate look at the psychological toll of the heresy on one of Horus's closest followers. Unlike other stories that focus on large-scale battles and strategic alliances, Little Horus is a character-driven narrative that explores the inner conflict of a traitor who still feels the weight of his actions. Through Aximand's journey, the story delves into themes of loyalty, identity, and guilt, capturing the emotional complexity of those who have chosen to abandon the Emperor. The story also contributes to the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy, by highlighting the fractured loyalties and personal conflicts within the traitor legions. Aximand's self-doubt and longing for redemption serve as a reminder that the heresy is not only a battle for power, but a struggle for the soul of each individual involved. His character adds depth to the portrayal of the traitors, showing that even those who have turned against the Emperor are not immune to the pain of betrayal. In conclusion, Little Horus by Dan Abnett is a powerful exploration of loyalty, identity, and the psychological impact of the Horus Heresy. Through the character of Horus Aximand, the story captures the emotional weight of betrayal and the struggle to find meaning in a world defined by conflict. It serves as a reminder that the true cost of the heresy is not only measured in lives, but in the internal battles faced by those who must navigate a galaxy torn apart by divided loyalties. The Iron Within by Rob Sanders is a powerful narrative within Age of Darkness that focuses on the Iron Warriors Legion, renowned for their expertise in siege warfare, fortifications, and unyielding resilience. Set during the Horus Heresy, the story explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the internal conflicts that arise when the lines between duty and personal conviction blur. This story diverges from typical accounts of large-scale battles between legions, focusing instead on a more personal, morally complex conflict. The story takes place on the fortress world of Castellax, a critical stronghold of the Iron Warriors that becomes a microcosm of the broader conflict within the Imperium. Castellax, a harsh and heavily fortified world, exemplifies the Iron Warriors' principles of strength, order, and self-reliance. However, as the heresy unfolds, Castellax becomes a site of ideological and literal warfare, as its defenders must choose between loyalty to their Primarch Perturabo and their own beliefs about honour, duty and survival. The plot of The Iron Within centres on Barabbas Dantioch, a captain of the Iron Warriors who commands the defences of Castellax. Dantioch is a pragmatic and introspective leader, embodying the Legion's expertise in fortifications and siege tactics, but also questioning the blind obedience that has come to define the traitor legions. As the heresy spreads, Dantioch finds himself at a moral crossroads when he learns that Perturabo, his Primarch, has declared his allegiance to Horus and ordered the Iron Warriors to join the rebellion. Initially, Dantioch faces pressure to conform, with many of his fellow Iron Warriors rallying to Perturabo's cause. However, Dantioch's loyalty to the Emperor and his belief in honour and integrity lead him to resist the betrayal. He decides to defy Perturabo's orders, fortifying Castellax against an impending attack by his own legion. This decision places him and his garrison in direct conflict with the Iron Warriors who have sided with Horus, turning Castellax into a battlefield not only of strength and strategy, but of conviction and ideology. The story reaches its climax when Dantioch's defences are put to the ultimate test, as he and his followers face an overwhelming siege led by former allies. The battle for Castellax is intense and brutal, with Dantioch employing every skill and tactic he possesses to hold off the attackers. Despite the odds, Dantioch's determination and tactical ingenuity allow him to hold out against the assault, embodying the Iron Warrior's mantra of iron within, iron without. The story ultimately ends on a somber note, as Dantioch's stand serves as a testament to the resilience of those who remain loyal to their principles even in the face of overwhelming betrayal. Captain Barabbas Dantioch is the protagonist of The Iron Within, and serves as a compelling figure within the Iron Warriors Legion. Known for his expertise in fortifications and siege tactics, Dantioch is a practical and introspective leader who values honour and integrity above blind loyalty. His character is defined by his loyalty to the Emperor, despite the pressure to join the traitor legions, and his willingness to stand against his Primarch's orders when they conflict with his personal convictions. Dantioch's decision to defy Perturabo's command and fortify Castellax against his own brothers is a testament to his inner strength and moral fortitude. Unlike many of his fellow Iron Warriors, Dantioch is not content to follow orders without question. He believes that loyalty must be tempered by personal conviction. His character arc is one of resilience and sacrifice, as he is willing to face certain death rather than compromise his beliefs. Dantioch's actions embody the Iron Warrior's motto, iron within, iron without, as he demonstrates both inner strength and outer fortitude in the face of overwhelming odds. Though Perturabo does not physically appear in The Iron Within, his presence looms over the story as the embodiment of the Iron Warrior's conflicted loyalty. As the Primarch of the Iron Warriors, Perturabo is known for his bitterness and resentment toward the Emperor, feelings that ultimately lead him to side with Horus in the heresy. Perturabo's decision to betray the Imperium forces his legion to confront their own loyalties, as they must choose between following their Primarch or adhering to their own sense of duty to the Emperor. Perturabo's ideological influence is evident in the actions of the Iron Warriors who assault Castellax, as they embody his ruthless approach to warfare and his willingness to crush any opposition. The story contrasts Perturabo's cold pragmatism with Dantioch's moral conviction, highlighting the internal divisions within the Iron Warriors Legion. Perturabo's presence in the story serves as a reminder of the power of authority and the consequences of blind obedience, as his betrayal forces his followers to confront the true meaning of loyalty. The theme of loyalty and betrayal is central to The Iron Within, as Dantioch's defiance of Perturabo represents a rejection of blind loyalty in favour of personal conviction. While many of his fellow Iron Warriors rally to Perturabo's cause without question, Dantioch chooses to remain loyal to the Emperor, even if it means facing his own brothers in battle. This decision highlights the complexity of loyalty within the Iron Warriors, as Dantioch's allegiance to his own ideals takes precedence over his loyalty to his Primarch. Dantioch's stand against Perturabo also serves as a commentary on the cost of betrayal, as his actions force the Iron Warriors to confront the consequences of their choice to side with Horus. The story explores the idea that loyalty is not a simple matter of following orders, but a deeply personal and morally complex decision. Through Dantioch's defiance, the story suggests that true loyalty requires courage, conviction, and a willingness to stand against those who would compromise one's beliefs. The theme of honour and integrity is embodied by Dantiok, who values his sense of duty and personal ethics above the expectations of his legion. Unlike many of his fellow Iron Warriors, Dantiok is not willing to compromise his principles for the sake of convenience or survival. His decision to fortify Castellax against the traitor forces is a reflection of his commitment to honour, as he refuses to abandon his oath to the Emperor even in the face of overwhelming opposition. This theme is further emphasised by the contrast between Dantiok and the Iron Warriors who assault Castellax. While Dantiok's actions are driven by a sense of moral duty, his attackers are motivated by loyalty to Perturbo and a desire for power. The story suggests that honour is not defined by allegiance but by personal conviction, as Dantiok's stand on Castellax represents a rejection of the moral decay that has consumed the traitor legions. The Iron Warriors are known for their resilience, and the Iron Within explores this theme through Dantiok's determination to hold Castellax against overwhelming odds. Despite the immense pressure and the likelihood of defeat, Dantiok refuses to abandon his post or surrender his principles. His resilience is a testament to the Iron Warrior's strength as he embodies the Legion's motto, Iron Within, Iron Without, by demonstrating both inner strength and outer fortitude. Dantiok's willingness to sacrifice himself for his beliefs adds depth to the theme of resilience, as he is willing to face death rather than betray his sense of duty. This theme of sacrifice underscores the emotional weight of the heresy, as Dantiok's actions highlight the personal cost of loyalty and the lengths to which individuals will go to protect their ideals. Through Dantiok's resilience, the story explores the idea that true strength is not measured by physical power, but by the courage to stand by one's principles in the face of adversity. One of the central conflicts in The Iron Within is the tension between personal conviction and authority, as Dantiok's loyalty to the Emperor brings him into direct conflict with Perturbo's orders. While many of his fellow Iron Warriors choose to follow Perturbo without question, Dantiok's decision to defy his Primarch reflects his belief that loyalty must be tempered by personal ethics. This conflict highlights the dangers of blind obedience and the importance of questioning authority, as Dantiok's actions suggest that true loyalty is not about following orders, but about staying true to one's beliefs. This theme is particularly relevant within the context of the Horus Heresy, as the traitor legion's decision to follow Horus represents a rejection of the Emperor's authority. Dantiok's defiance serves as a counterpoint to this trend, as he demonstrates that loyalty to the Emperor can coexist with personal conviction. The story suggests that the heresy is not just a battle of ideologies, but a struggle for the soul of each individual, as characters like Dantiok are forced to confront the true meaning of loyalty. The Iron Within is a significant story within the Horus Heresy, as it explores the ideological and personal conflicts that arise within the traitor legions. Unlike many tales in the series which focus on the larger strategic and philosophical aspects of the heresy, The Iron Within provides an intimate look at the moral dilemmas faced by individual soldiers and leaders. Through Dantiok's defiance, the story highlights the importance of personal conviction and the cost of loyalty, emphasizing that the heresy's impact is not only physical but also deeply psychological. The story also contributes to the larger narrative of the Horus Heresy by examining the consequences of Perturbo's betrayal and the internal divisions within the Iron Warriors. Dantiok's stand on Castellax serves as a reminder that even within the traitor legions, there are those who still value honour and integrity. This portrayal of the Iron Warriors adds complexity to the series, as it shows that loyalty is not a monolithic concept but a deeply personal and morally nuanced decision. In conclusion, The Iron Within by Rob Sanders is a powerful exploration of loyalty, honour and resilience. Through the character of Barabbas Dantiok and the battle for Castellax, the story captures the emotional and ideological impact of the Horus Heresy, highlighting the personal sacrifices and moral conflicts faced by those who refuse to compromise their principles. It serves as a reminder that the true strength of the Iron Warriors lies not in their physical might but in their commitment to their beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. Finally, we have Savage Weapons by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, centers on a confrontation between two of the most ideologically distinct and opposed Primarchs in the Horus Heresy, Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords and Lion L. Johnson of the Dark Angels. Set on the dark, desolate world of Sagwalsa, this story captures a rare, face-to-face meeting between these powerful figures, each embodying radically different philosophies and methods of governance. Dembski-Bowden's story is unique within the Horus Heresy for its focus on a single, intense, dialogue-driven interaction that explores themes of justice, fear, honour, and the complex moral frameworks that govern the Primarchs. The story unfolds within the shadows and ruins of Sagwalsa, a world dominated by darkness, fitting for the Night Lords and their terror-inducing philosophy. It is a place that feels almost mythic, providing a fitting battleground for a confrontation where words and ideologies clash as fiercely as weapons. Unlike many other stories that focus on large-scale battles, Savage Weapons is intensely personal, portraying a war of words and wills as much as a physical confrontation between two vastly different minds. The story opens with Leon L. Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels, arriving on Sagwalsa with a select group of his warriors. He intends to confront Conrad Cursor, the Night Haunter, who has led his legion, the Night Lords, down a path defined by terror, violence, and an abandonment of the Emperor's ideals. This meeting is arranged as a negotiation, but soon evolves into a tense ideological debate punctuated by the threat of violence. As the two Primarchs speak, their dialogue reveals the deep-seated ideological rift between them. The Lion, known for his sense of honour, discipline, and justice, embodies the Emperor's ideal of order and control. Cursor, on the other hand, embraces a philosophy of fear and brutal retribution, seeing himself as a necessary force to instill order through terror. He believes that his brutal methods are the only way to impose discipline and loyalty on a galaxy steeped in chaos. Throughout the conversation, tension mounts as both Primarchs attempt to assert their ideologies. This culminates in a brutal confrontation where words give way to physical violence. The Lion and Curse, both representing unyielding extremes, clash with a ferocity that embodies the ideological war tearing the Imperium apart. Their fight is raw, violent, and inconclusive, symbolizing the irresolvable nature of their conflicting beliefs. In the end, both are left to ponder the futility of their struggle and the toll it takes on those who follow them. The Lion, as portrayed in Savage Weapons, is a figure of stern honour and control, representing the ideal of order that the Emperor envisioned for the Imperium. As the Primarch of the Dark Angels, L. Johnson adheres to a rigid sense of duty and discipline, seeing these values as essential for the survival of the Imperium. His character is marked by an unwavering belief in the importance of law and justice, and he views Curz's methods as a betrayal of everything the Emperor stands for. Throughout the story, L. Johnson's conversations with Curzor reveal his deep-seated disdain for the Night Haunter's philosophy. He is genuinely disturbed by Curz's willingness to use terror as a tool of governance, seeing it as a perversion of the Emperor's vision. Yet despite his sense of moral superiority, L. Johnson is not without flaws. His rigid adherence to his beliefs blinds him to the nuances of Curz's perspective, and his inability to understand his brother's point of view contributes to the breakdown of their dialogue. L. Johnson's character serves as a representation of the uncompromising idealism within the Loyalist forces, illustrating both the strength and limitations of the Emperor's vision. Conrad Curze, or the Night Haunter, is one of the most complex and morally ambiguous Primarchs in the Horus Heresy. As the leader of the Night Lords, Curze believes in ruling through fear, seeing terror as the most effective means of instilling discipline in a chaotic galaxy. Unlike L. Johnson, who is motivated by a desire for justice, Curze's methods are driven by a brutal pragmatism. He sees the universe as a dark and unforgiving place and believes that fear is the only force capable of maintaining order. In Savage Weapons, Curze is portrayed as both menacing and strangely introspective. His dialogue with L. Johnson reveals a deep-seated cynicism about the Emperor's vision, which he views as naive and insufficient for dealing with the harsh realities of the galaxy. Curze's willingness to embrace terror as a tool of control is not born of cruelty, but of a bleak worldview shaped by his own traumatic past. His character embodies the heresy's theme of moral complexity, as he challenges the idea that there is a single, right way to achieve peace and stability. Despite his horrific methods, Curze's character raises uncomfortable questions about the cost of loyalty and the nature of justice. The central theme of Savage Weapons is the clash between justice and fear as methods of governance. L. Johnson represents the loyalist ideal of justice, believing in the Emperor's vision of a lawful and ordered Imperium. For L. Johnson, justice is a guiding principle, one that defines his sense of duty and his approach to leadership. Curze, however, believes that justice is a naive ideal in a galaxy as chaotic as theirs. Instead, he sees fear as a necessary tool, one that allows him to impose order through brutal, uncompromising means. Their ideological clash underscores the philosophical divides within the Imperium, highlighting the differing interpretations of what it means to maintain order. Curze's view that fear is the only reliable means of control challenges the Emperor's vision and raises questions about the effectiveness of justice in a world where loyalty can easily be swayed by power and violence. This theme reflects the broader tension within the Horus Heresy, as characters grapple with the moral implications of their actions and the costs of their ideals. Both L. Johnson and Curze represent extreme interpretations of the Emperor's vision, and their confrontation reveals the limitations of such unyielding beliefs. El Johnson's rigid adherence to justice blinds him to the realities of Kurz' worldview, while Kurz' obsession with fear isolates him from his brothers and turns his followers into instruments of terror. The story suggests that neither ideology is sufficient on its own. Both justice and fear have their limitations, and an over-reliance on either can lead to ruin. This theme is particularly resonant within the context of the Horus Heresy, as the galaxy is torn apart by conflicting ideals and the inability of the Primarchs to reconcile their differences. Through El Johnson and Kurz' confrontation, Dembski-Bowden illustrates the dangers of ideological extremism, showing how rigid adherence to one's beliefs can lead to isolation, conflict, and ultimately self-destruction. Both El Johnson and Kurz are depicted as deeply troubled figures, burdened by the weight of their roles as leaders and the sacrifices they have made for their ideals. El Johnson's commitment to justice isolates him from his more pragmatic brothers, while Kurz' embrace of terror has left him isolated and feared by his own legion. This theme explores the psychological toll of leadership as both Primarchs grapple with the costs of their decisions and the consequences of their actions. Kurz' introspective nature and self-awareness add depth to this theme, as he is fully aware of the horror his methods inspire. He accepts this isolation as a necessary cost, believing that fear is his only means of control. El Johnson, on the other hand, struggles to reconcile his ideals with the brutal reality of the heresy, leading him to question whether his commitment to justice is enough to save the Imperium. This theme highlights the emotional sacrifices that leadership demands, as both characters are forced to confront the personal cost of their loyalty. The story also touches on the theme of brotherhood and betrayal, as El Johnson and Kurz' confrontation reflects the fragmentation of the once unified Primarchs. Although they share a familial bond, their ideological rift has turned them into enemies, each convinced of the righteousness of his cause. This theme captures the tragic nature of the heresy, as brothers who once fought side by side are now divided by their beliefs and their loyalty to different visions of the Imperium. Kurz' bitterness and isolation reflect the emotional impact of this betrayal, as he feels abandoned and misunderstood by his brothers. El Johnson too experiences a sense of betrayal, as he views Kurz' actions as a perversion of the Emperor's ideals. This theme emphasizes the emotional toll of the heresy, as the bonds of brotherhood are torn apart by ideological divides and the inability of the Primarchs to find common ground. Savage Weapons is a significant story within the Horus Heresy, as it provides a rare, introspective look at the ideological rifts within the Primarchs. Through the confrontation between El Johnson and Kurz, the story explores the philosophical differences that have fueled the heresy, revealing that the conflict is not only about power, but about fundamentally different beliefs regarding order, control, and justice. The story's emphasis on dialogue and psychological tension adds depth to the series, showing that the heresy is as much a war of ideas as it is a battle of armies. The story also contributes to the portrayal of the Night Lords and Dark Angels, showcasing the unique philosophies of each legion and the impact of their Primarchs' leadership. Kurz' belief in fear as a tool of governance highlights the brutal pragmatism of the Night Lords, while El Johnson's commitment to justice underscores the Dark Angels' adherence to honour and order. This contrast adds nuance to the portrayal of the legions, showing how each Primarch's ideology shapes the culture and methods of his warriors. In conclusion, Savage Weapons by Aaron Dembski-Bowden is a compelling exploration of the ideological divides within the Horus Heresy. Through the characters of El Johnson and Kurz, the story delves into themes of justice, fear, and the limitations of rigid beliefs. It serves as a powerful reminder of the personal and psychological toll of the heresy, as the Primarchs are forced to confront the consequences of their ideals and the cost of their loyalty. The anthology Age of Darkness presents a vast array of characters, each grappling with the complexities of loyalty, duty, betrayal, and survival in the wake of Horus's rebellion. These characters are not only warriors but also individuals facing deeply personal crises, internal conflicts, and moral dilemmas. By examining the characters in Age of Darkness, we can better understand how the Horus Heresy has fractured the Imperium and eroded the certainties upon which the Emperor's vision was built. Here we'll delve into the psyche of several central characters, their motivations, and the ways in which they embody the themes of the anthology. Roboute Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines, is one of the most central and complex figures in Age of Darkness, particularly in the story Rules of Engagement. Guilliman is renowned for his intellect, discipline, and commitment to order. His vision of the Imperium is one rooted in structure and governance, and he works tirelessly to preserve the Emperor's ideals. However, in the face of Horus's betrayal, Guilliman finds himself navigating a moral and strategic labyrinth. His contemplation of Imperium Secundus, a potential replacement empire should the Emperor's Imperium fall, is both a testament to his pragmatism and a point of internal conflict. Guilliman knows that creating an alternative Imperium could be seen as a betrayal, yet he feels he has no choice. This painful pragmatism makes him a deeply sympathetic figure, as we see him wrestle with the line between loyalty and survival. Guilliman's conversations with his subordinate, Remus Ventanus, reveal his internal struggle. Although he holds a sense of duty, he admits to Remus that his teachings and strategies are flawed, that even he cannot foresee every outcome. This humility is rare among the Primarchs, yet it is tinged with a sense of fatalism, as though Guilliman is preparing himself and his followers for an inevitable collapse of the Imperium as they know it. In one poignant moment, he confides in Remus that his plan may involve actions that others will see as heretical. Guilliman's acknowledgement of his fallibility, combined with his dedication to preserving the Emperor's ideals, even at great personal cost, makes him a particularly tragic figure in the anthology. Horus Aximand, also known as Little Horus, is a member of the War Master's inner circle, a figure who grapples with his own inner conflicts even as he remains loyal to Horus. Aximand's nickname reflects his close resemblance to Horus Lupercal himself, both in appearance and in character. However, unlike Horus, Aximand is haunted by doubts. The character's introspective nature is most vividly depicted in Little Horus, where he is shown as a man deeply conflicted by the atrocities committed by the traitor legions. He experiences nightmares, haunted by the face of Garviel Loken, a former friend and loyalist who symbolises the consequences of Aximand's choices. The dreams serve as a metaphor for Aximand's lingering guilt and his subconscious desire for redemption, even as he continues to fight for Horus. Aximand's disquiet about the War Master's decisions suggests a fracture within the traitor legions themselves. Although he remains outwardly loyal, Aximand is emblematic of the psychological toll the heresy takes on even the most dedicated followers. His introspection and melancholy highlight the erosion of personal conviction among Horus's inner circle, suggesting that betrayal, once committed, cannot be so easily rationalized or erased. This inner turmoil makes Aximand a complex and tragically sympathetic character, torn between his loyalty to Horus and his conscience. Solomon Voss, a remembrancer who once chronicled the Great Crusade, becomes a symbol of lost ideals and the fragility of memory. In The Last Remembrancer, Voss is confronted by Rogal Dorn, who sees Voss as a traitor for having allied himself with Horus. However, Voss argues that he did so not out of treachery, but out of a desire to witness the truth for himself. His status as a remembrancer places him in a unique position, as he once bore the duty of recording the Imperium's victories and ideals. Now, he believes those ideals have been corrupted, and he challenges Dorn by suggesting that it is not Horus alone who threatens the Imperium's future, but the decay within the Imperium itself. Voss's exchanges with Dorn are charged with philosophical tension, as he challenges Dorn's conviction in the righteousness of the Imperium. Voss represents the lost ideals of the Great Crusade, and his character raises uncomfortable questions about loyalty, truth, and the role of history. His belief that truth should be confronted rather than concealed stands in stark contrast to the secrecy and mistrust that now pervade the Imperium. Voss's interactions with Dorn expose the internal contradictions of the Imperium, as Dorn himself is forced to confront the uncomfortable possibility that his loyalty may contribute to a flawed empire. Captain Remus Ventanus of the Ultramarines serves as a loyal follower of Guilliman, embodying the virtues of duty and resilience. However, in Rules of Engagement, he is also depicted as a man who feels the weight of failure. After a training exercise that leaves him defeated by the simulated Sons of Horus, Ventanus is left questioning his own abilities and the effectiveness of Guilliman's strategies. His doubts reflect a broader disillusionment among the Loyalists, as they begin to realise that victory is far from certain, even with Guilliman's guidance. Ventanus' loyalty is unwavering, but his introspection and self-doubt add a layer of humanity to his character, highlighting the cost of loyalty in a time of uncertainty. In his interactions with Guilliman, Ventanus emerged as a reflective and insightful leader, willing to question and adapt. Guilliman's confession that his teachings are not infallible forces Ventanus to grapple with the need for personal initiative and adaptability, qualities that are essential but challenging for a warrior trained to follow orders. Through Ventanus, the anthology explores the burdens of leadership and the importance of maintaining personal conviction, even in the face of overwhelming doubt. Primarch Rogal Dorn, often portrayed as stoic and unyielding, appears in The Last Remembrancer as a man struggling to reconcile his ideals with the brutal realities of the heresy. Dorn's meeting with Solomon Voss forces him to confront the ideological decay within the Imperium, as Voss argues that the values Dorn once fought for are being eroded by suspicion and secrecy. Dorn's loyalty to the Emperor is unwavering, yet his interaction with Voss reveals a man deeply troubled by the implications of his own actions. Dorn embodies the theme of duty taken to its extreme, as he clings to his sense of purpose even when it seems increasingly futile. Dawn's internal conflict is highlighted by his exchanges with Yakton Cruz, a former lunar wolf who now serves the Loyalists. Cruz's perspective as a former member of Horus's Legion brings a unique insight into the heresy's impact as he warns Dawn that trust itself has become a liability. Dawn's struggle to maintain his principles in the face of such pragmatism illustrates the difficulty of upholding ideals in an age defined by betrayal. Through Dawn, the anthology explores the tragic cost of loyalty as he continues to defend an Imperium that may no longer deserve his faith. Yakton Cruz, known as the Half-Herd for his status as an outsider even among his fellow warriors, serves as a bridge between the Loyalists and traitors. A former member of the Lunar Wolves, Cruz has seen his brothers turn against the Emperor, and this experience has left him with a unique perspective on the heresy. In The Last Remembrancer, Cruz accompanies Dawn to meet Solomon Voss and offers a cynical, world-weary outlook on loyalty and trust. His warning to Dawn that trust is now a weakness highlights the pervasive sense of mistrust that has come to define the Imperium in the wake of the heresy. Cruz's character serves as a reminder of the personal toll the heresy has taken on individuals who once considered each other brothers. His pragmatic approach to survival and loyalty reflects a stark contrast with Dawn's idealism, emphasizing the difficult choices that loyalists must make in order to endure the Age of Darkness. Through Cruz, the anthology presents a more nuanced view of loyalty, one that acknowledges the necessity of compromise and adaptation in the face of overwhelming betrayal. Together, these characters illustrate the multifaceted impact of the Horus Heresy on individuals, legions, and the Imperium as a whole. Each character's journey highlights a different aspect of the anthology's themes, from Guilliman's painful pragmatism and Ventanus' self-doubt to Dawn's ideological struggle and Cruz's hard-earned cynicism. Through these richly developed figures, Age of Darkness captures the complexity of loyalty, betrayal, and survival in a universe descending into chaos. Now that we have established the anthology's structure and key plot elements, let's move into a detailed examination of the prominent themes. Age of Darkness captures a variety of recurring ideas that are critical to understanding the psychological, ethical, and emotional landscapes of the Horus Heresy. Through stories focusing on individual characters, legions, and isolated incidents, these themes, loyalty, betrayal, the ethics of war, the fragility of memory and legacy, and the psychological fragmentation of the Imperium, are explored in depth. Here, I will to unpack each theme and illustrate them with specific examples from the text, highlighting how the anthology uses these themes to convey the tragic impact of Horus's rebellion. Loyalty and betrayal form the core of the Horus Heresy. An Age of Darkness masterfully delves into these complex, often conflicting allegiances. In many stories, characters are forced to confront their loyalty to the Emperor, their Primarchs, and their personal ideals. In Rules of Engagement by Graham McNeill, Roboute Guilliman embodies this conflict. Known for his unbreakable loyalty to the Emperor, Guilliman finds himself in a position where he must consider the creation of Imperium Secundus, a contingency plan for humanity's survival should the original Imperium fall. This decision reveals his despair, as well as a pragmatic approach to loyalty that acknowledges the chaotic nature of the heresy. Guilliman's internal battle over whether he is betraying the Emperor's ideals by planning for a separate Imperium is emblematic of how loyalty in the Horus Heresy is constantly tested and redefined under the weight of unprecedented circumstances. In Little Horus by Dan Abnett, we see betrayal examined through the character of Horus Aximand, also known as Little Horus. Aximand's loyalty to War Master Horus is unwavering on the surface, yet he is troubled by the brutal tactics and moral compromises that have come to define the traitor legions. His quiet introspection and sense of melancholy suggest a man who grapples with his own disillusionment even as he remains outwardly committed to the cause. This inner conflict underscores the theme of betrayal as not just a single act but a series of compromises that erode one's sense of self over time. The theme of betrayal is also powerfully present in The Last Remembrancer by John French. In this story, the Remembrancer Solomon Voss confronts Rogal Dawn with the idea that the Imperium itself has strayed from its original ideals. Voss, once loyal to the Emperor, has come to believe that the Imperium has become corrupt and that trust has vanished among those who once fought for unity. Dawn's confrontation with Voss is one of anger, sorrow, and existential questioning, as Voss suggests that it is not only Horus who betrays the Imperium, but also those who cling to a corrupted vision of the Emperor's dream. The anthology delves deeply into the ethical costs of war, particularly in stories that explore the heresy from a less glorified and more introspective perspective. War is depicted not merely as physical conflict, but as a moral and psychological struggle where ideals are twisted and principles are sacrificed. In Savage Weapons by Aaron Dembski Bowden, the The confrontation between Primarchs Lionel Johnson and Conrad Kurz reveals two starkly different moral compasses. Kurz's brutal ideology holds that fear and terror are necessary tools for maintaining order, while Johnson clings to a sense of honour and justice that, while noble, seems increasingly out of place in the violent reality of the heresy. Their debate escalates into a violent confrontation, symbolising the ultimate breakdown of morality under the pressures of civil war. In Liar's Due by James Swallow, the narrative shifts from the battlefield to a small, isolated world far from the front lines, highlighting the indirect impacts of the heresy. The story examines how propaganda and deception become weapons of war, influencing civilians who must choose whom to trust amid swirling rumours. The story's portrayal of psychological warfare reveals how the heresy corrupts not only those in battle, but also the minds of the innocent, challenging the reader to consider the morality of manipulating truth as a tool of survival. The Iron Warriors, featured in Rob Sanders' The Iron Within, showcase another aspect of war's ethical toll. Known for their ruthless efficiency in siege warfare, the Iron Warriors here must decide whether to stand with or against their kin. The story presents the Iron Warriors as characters who view loyalty as a matter of duty rather than belief, an outlook that complicates their sense of morality. When they are forced into a situation where they must kill former allies to uphold their loyalty to the Imperium, we see the tragic irony of war, where survival often requires acts that compromise one's values. The theme of legacy is prominent in Age of Darkness, especially as characters reflect on the Imperium's ideals and question whether these ideals can or should survive the war. Legacy, in this context, is about preserving not only the Imperium's physical structure, but also its guiding principles and memories. The Last Remembrancer is a striking example, as it deals with the idea of history itself as a battlefield. Solomon Voss, a chronicler who has defected to Horus, argues that the Imperium's vision is already dead and that the truth must be buried for the Age of Darkness to continue. Voss believes that the truth he has witnessed will poison the minds of loyalists if it spreads, suggesting that some legacies may be better forgotten. His debate with Dawn on the importance of truth in times of war underscores the fragility of legacy in an era when memory itself is weaponized. In Forgotten Sons by Nick Kime, the notion of legacy takes on a more personal form as two Astartes from different legions grapple with their identities and the purpose of their mission. The Salamander and the Imperial Fist struggle with their conflicting loyalties, wondering if their sacrifices will be remembered or if they are merely expendable pawns. The title, Forgotten Sons, serves as a haunting reminder of the countless lives given in service to ideals that may ultimately be overshadowed or erased by the heresy's brutal legacy. Isolation is a pervasive theme in Age of Darkness, manifesting as both physical separation and emotional detachment. The heresy has splintered the Imperium, scattering legions across the galaxy and severing the bonds that once unified them. This fragmentation is evident in The Face of Treachery by Gav Thorpe, where the Raven Guard, betrayed and nearly annihilated at Istvan V, are depicted as a broken force struggling to regroup and survive. The survivors, isolated from their brothers and facing the psychological scars of betrayal, embody the deep sense of fragmentation that has taken hold of the Imperium. This theme of isolation is also vividly portrayed in Rebirth by Chris Raitt, which follows the Thousand Sons Legion after the destruction of Prospero. These Astartes are physically isolated, having lost their home and their standing within the Imperium. Emotionally, they are left with only each other as they navigate a galaxy that has turned hostile. The Thousand Sons' journey through isolation serves as a metaphor for the broader fragmentation within the Imperium, as they cling to the remnants of their former identities in a universe that no longer recognizes them as allies or even as honorable warriors. The heresy brings with it a pervasive sense of mistrust, as characters must constantly question whom they can trust. In Age of Darkness, the theme of trust, or the lack thereof, is closely tied to the theme of truth. The heresy's unfolding chaos has made loyalty uncertain, and many characters grapple with the idea that truth itself has become a luxury in wartime. This theme is central in The Last Remembrancer, where Solomon Voss's betrayal and his accusations against the Imperium challenge Rogal Dorn's own beliefs. Dorn's struggle to accept or refute Voss's claims represents a broader existential crisis, as he confronts the possibility that the truth he defends may not be as pure as he once believed. In Little Horus, Horus Aximand grapples with similar issues. Despite his loyalty to Horus, he cannot shake a sense of unease about the motivations and actions of the traitor legions. The constant need to question and assess trustworthiness creates a tense psychological landscape, one where Aximand's quiet doubts about his own path reflect the broader uncertainty of a galaxy where allegiances shift constantly. This mistrust complicates the simple dichotomy of loyalist and traitor, showing how the heresy forces even the most devoted warriors to confront uncomfortable truths about their cause. In Age of Darkness, these themes work together to create a rich, multifaceted exploration of a galaxy in turmoil. The anthology does not present war, loyalty, or heroism in black and white terms. Instead, it delves into the nuances of each theme, revealing the complexities and moral compromises that define the heresy. The stories collectively paint a picture of an Imperium that, despite its military might and grand ideals, is vulnerable to the psychological, ethical. In terms of narrative style, Age of Darkness is incredibly varied. Some stories, like Rules of Engagement, are introspective and philosophical, focusing on the internal conflicts of characters like Guilliman. Others, like The Iron Within and Savage Weapons, are action-driven, with intense battle scenes that bring the brutality of the heresy to life. This diversity of styles adds richness to the anthology, allowing it to capture the many facets of the conflict. Each author brings their own voice to the collection, and together they create a mosaic of perspectives that enhance our understanding of the heresy. Yet, this diversity also has its drawbacks. For some readers, the shift in tone and pacing from one story to the next may feel jarring. The anthology lacks a single, cohesive narrative, and this can make it challenging for those unfamiliar with the larger series. Many of the stories assume a certain level of knowledge about the characters and events, which may limit accessibility for new readers. Age of Darkness is a profound and intricately crafted exploration of the Horus Heresy's impact on individuals, legions, and the Imperium as a whole. Through its diverse array of stories and characters, the anthology moves beyond simple depictions of loyalty versus betrayal, instead offering a layered examination of how ideals are tested, warped, and sometimes shattered under the pressure of war. Each character, be it Guilliman, Aximand, Voss, Ventanus, or Cruz, represents a different facet of the heresy's psychological and moral toll, creating a complex portrait of an Imperium that is at once grand and deeply flawed. Age of Darkness is not just a chronicle of battles, it is a meditation on the cost of loyalty, the nature of truth, and the resilience of memory in a universe where even the brightest ideals can be overshadowed by darkness. As part of the Horus Heresy, it enriches our understanding of the series by inviting us to ponder not just the war's outcomes, but the inner battles that each character must face. Ultimately, Age of Darkness reminds us that the true horror of the heresy lies not in its physical devastation, but in the way it erodes the very soul of the Imperium.